What is going on, guys? This is Miasin. So today I wanted to quickly go over a deck that I actually think is extremely underappreciated in Yu-Gi-Oh! And that would be the Horus Runick control deck. It's a very weird and complicated deck when you really think about it, because at first glance you'd look at it and you would be like, oh, it's just a bunch of engines mashed together and it doesn't really make too much sense. But it's deeper than that, because it really rewards playing the game absolutely perfectly. And it's very similar and reminiscent to the deck that Joshua played at YCS Bologna. And he won the YCS with a deck that basically is the same. That the only difference is that instead of playing the Horus engine, he's playing the Bestial engine. So he's changing one engine for another. And instead of playing Volcanic Shell, he's basically just playing some good normal summons like Blazing Cartesia. Well, I mean, no, the good normal summon is Guiding Queb, and then Blazing Cartesia and the Bestial Eluber. But the rest, for the most part, I mean, it's the same concept. You're really just controlling the game. You're drawing a bunch of cards with a Runic Fountain. You're applying pressure with all the different effects of the Runic cards, and you can outplay your opponent by doing things that your opponent would not expect you to do. And this deck also just plays very well into hand traps. Like, your opponent can have a bunch of hand traps and it's just not going to do anything. This deck is completely immune to Nibiru, and even Droll is actually quite bad against this deck. Not to mention that you would have some actual unlosable matchup sometimes, like Labyrinth, for example. Anyways, before I go into the explanation of anything, make sure, of course, you smash the like and subscribe button. I would really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And now let's get right into it. So it goes without saying, but I am playing 3 Imseti, of course. It's the best Horus monster, as well as 3 Sarcophagus, and one of each of the less good Horus monsters, so 1 Happy, 1 Duamutef, and 1 Kibesenuef. And for the hand traps, I'm on 3 Ash, 3 Valor, 3 Nibiru. And Nibiru fixes issues for this deck, I guess, but it's not necessarily a necessity. Like, you can definitely live without it. Worst case, if it's useless, it's just gonna be your discard fodder. And that's the beauty about playing a bunch of cards that just discard, like the Runic cards. They all force you to discard for the effect of Hugin. And then Sarcophagus and Imseti, they also make you discard. So if the Nibiru is useless, it becomes like unuseless. And if it's useful, then, you know, good for you. It's gonna do something. But obviously, it's a body that generates itself on the board. So if you can summon like 1 Runic monster, then you're one step closer to summoning SP Little Knight. Which is relevant when you're playing slower control-based decks like this one. Also very relevant in Joshua's deck, of course. For the Runic engine, it's the exact same card for card as Joshua's. 19 cards, so 17 of the Runic quick play spell cards. So the 15 good ones that you always want to play. The 3 Freezing Curses, the 3 Tib, the 3 Destruction, the 3 Flashing Fire, and the 3 Runic Slumber. But this time we're also playing the Smiting Storm as well as the Dispelling. You're playing these cards when you just need more Runic cards, because the rest of your engine doesn't really necessarily do like that much. Like, it's not like 1 Imseti does all that much for me. Like, sure, I could play Zombie Vampire, and that would increase the likelihood of getting some Runic cards in the grave. You know, it's not like a 1 card plus 10 or something. But these cards, of course, they get me just closer and closer to resolving a Runic Fountain that can draw 3 cards, which is very good. And the funny thing about this deck is that you can mail the Fountain, and it's in a way better than having to like search it with the Hugin, because then you can go like a Runic spell, summon the Gary, recycle back the Fountain from grave to hand. So Zombie Vampire really brings a lot to this deck, but obviously you're playing a bunch of rank 8s to solve problems. The only monster that might be your normal summon sometimes, but not all the time, would be Volcanic Shell. Obviously, you can turn this into Relinquished Anima. Basically, it's only really there as a link material. But if it's going to be your discard off of the Sarcophagus or the Horus or your Runics, then it's going to be pretty good, because you can discard it again and again. So 1 Volcanic Shell gives you fuel for 3 discards, because you can search Volcanic Shell off of Volcanic Shell, and then so forth and so on. As long as you have more Volcanic Shells, it's a soft once per turn, not a hard once per turn. So as long as it becomes like another Volcanic Shell, you can keep using the effect again, which is actually kind of crazy, but I feel like there is more that you might be able to do in this deck. And that's the reason why there's no way that someone doesn't have the potential to break this deck and win a YCS with it. You're always going to come across people that, regardless of their skill level, they will misplay against these kind of decks, because they just have no idea how to correctly play through some of the weird boards that you're making. So for example, if I'm playing against Labyrinth, and I know for a fact that it's Labyrinth, 1 single Sarcophagus is actually game against them. I just have to summon all the Horus monsters I can pass turn, and that's like FTK. Like, literally, they need like infinite impermanence and a bunch of ways to destroy my Horus monsters all in one shot, because otherwise it's gonna be like absolutely horrendous. I can just trigger a bunch of effects, and they can't really deal with all the, all the protection as well, because King Sarcophagus protects all my Horus monsters from being destroyed by card effects that do not target it. So the Lovely trying to destroy has to destroy the Sarcophagus, but then that triggers all of my effects. I also get back the sarcophagus, so it's like back to square one. Yeah, it's a lot of pressure, and obviously you don't have to Xyz summon into anything. You can play around hand traps if you really want to. And again, because of the high volume of runic cards that we're playing, drawing 3 cards with a fountain every single turn is actually very easy to achieve. There is no like super specific combo that I want to showcase in this deck. That's the reason why this is only a deck profile, because you're always doing different things, right? But you have to apply judgment to the situation, because again, if you're playing against like a control deck, you don't Xyz summon. You just summon the Horus monsters and you pass turn. And this is again another thing that I've realized. I was playing like Silent Forcer, I was playtesting on Edo Pro, and I was realizing that if my opponents were going into like an Xyz monster with the Horus monsters, and I had like a hand trap, I was winning the game, because then the Xyz monster is just rendered useless and I win. Like imagine having to summon 3 Horus and then you go into Coach King Giant Trainer and then you get impermed. It's game over. But if you just go like summon 3 Horus monsters pass and they cannot make a Zeus without attacking directly, you win the game, because if they have to like attack over your monster, the sarcophagus makes it go to the graveyard. So as long as you summon all of your monsters and attack, I mean, you're not even gonna have to use the effect of sarcophagus. So jumping over your Horus monsters by battle is basically impossible because of Sark. Destroying the Horus monsters with card effect is also literally impossible. And as long as there is more than 1 Horus monsters, if one of them gets sent to the grave, you just get so much value. So these cards are like a distraction, basically. And the real strategy is using the runic cards to, again, take advantage, take control of the game state to make it so that you're always the one in the driver's seat. This deck, it has the potential to become even better. So if you guys have any feedback on how to improve it, please let me know. But yeah, for the extra deck, I'm on 1 Gary, triple Hugin. I mean, this could also change completely. 1 Sleipnir. I am playing Effect Veiler, so I could go like normal summon Effect Veiler with any runic spell and then make a Baron de Fleur. And that's always a good card, right? So the worst case scenario for Effect Veiler is I make a Baron. And then Chaos Angel, that's a given because of Horus Imseti and any runic spell into Hugin. And then double Espilo Knight, Relinquished Anima. I do have a few level 1 monsters. And for the rank 8s, I'm on Zombie Vampire, obviously, because I can revive back anything and mill a bunch of runic spells. Coach King Giant Trainer, so I can draw a bunch of cards. I mean, you have so much draw power in this deck because of the Imseti and the Fountain and Coach King. Dingirsu in order to just clear problems. Photon Lord, but that's honestly like not even what you're supposed to be doing, because again, this is not a combo deck. So you're not supposed to use your Horus monsters for Xyz summon every single time. And finally, this could be like anything, but once we're gonna get Infection Busking, then you can play this card. But obviously at the moment, it could just be like another fusion monster. It doesn't have to be like this very specifically, just random. But it does have a good effect. It's basically like a legal version of, what's his face, Diablos is the Mind Hacker, but less good. And for the side deck, this deck has the potential to play like super disgusting side deck cards, and that's just the beauty about it. Lava Golem, because the normal summon just doesn't matter at all. Denko Sekka, again, Labyrinth is a joke. Droll, Ghost Bell, Spellbound. I mean, this side deck is generically good that you can play it in like so many decks as well, like these 9 cards. But then these 6 cards, like you can't really always play them. Like Lava Golem, you need like a deck that doesn't really care too much about the normal summon, or a deck that can just use cards as discard, because Lava Golem sometimes is useless. And this deck is like the perfect deck for that. Basically all the runic decks in general. And then Denko Sekka, you have to not have to set cards or normal summon. Again, it's just like Lava Golem. And again, this deck is the perfect deck for that. So yeah, Labyrinth is the buy. You can definitely outgrind Fire King. You can outplay the shit out of Rescue Ace, even for Unchained and stuff like that. It looks pretty doable. Actually, if you know what you're doing, you should be able to grind just about everything. And again, you do have access to 9 hand traps in the main deck, as well as 17 runic quick play spell cards, and some pretty good engine cards as well. Yeah, that's it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and let me know your thoughts about this deck in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys very soon. Peace.